Hi guys, let's talk about the topic today that is so prevalent in the personal development world. That is when people, they desire relationships and that they crave to be in relationships. They often hear this advice on, you have to be happy with yourself, be happy with your singlehood, that's how you should be, etc., etc. And somehow, it often annoyed me in the past about this kind of advice because something just really didn't sit well with me. And then recently, I came across a video from Teal Swan, and she actually explained it beautifully. And I actually don't remember the way she explained it, but it really clicked. It's like, you see, when someone desires to be in a connection, in relationships, or even just having more friends and etc., what they are having is the need of having human closeness. And that is actually a need from our humanness, from being human. It's how we are biologically wired. So, telling people that, but you have to be happy with yourself, etc., is actually not working. And why it actually never really, fully sat well with me? Because I always knew that I have always been a fairly independent person. I am an Aries, okay? So I am really very independent and on my own. And, my own person. And whenever I find myself in relationships that are like stable and healthy in some point, I often have a healthy sense of independence and balance. And I don't really need my partner all the time, actually. And in those times, in the relationships with my partners, I often tend to be a little bit independent, like having my own things going on, my own interests, my own hobbies, the things that I like to do, like the things that I like to read, that I like to write, that I like to paint, that I like to watch, etc., etc. So I never really was this woman who is like very dependent on another person. However, I found myself craving for more dependency in generally two types of scenario. One is when a relationship is not stable. Like there is like uncertainty, a level of uncertainty, like are we really meant to be together? Maybe we had a lot of conflicts and now I wonder about the relationship, or that we are actually not sure if we might break up, or what are we really, etc. Those are the situations when I am unsure, when I'm uncertain, then I actually crave more, then I actually feel this borderline codependent energy actually. And another situation is when I'm single and then I really crave to experience this intimacy, this connection, this closeness again. Those are the two scenarios that I'm actually really craving for a relationship. But when I have both things, like when I have a relationship that is stable, then I eventually also have my own individuality. There is a balance. So I realize that it's just part of my human needs to have both. I have closeness with my loved ones, with a partner, and at the same time, I have my own independence. Because if a partner also wants to be with me all the time to the point that I cannot do my own things, then I would also not really feel good. So I really need both to be balanced. And that is also why, possibly, that these advices are so annoying to me, because I know that deep down something is not really right. Because imagine that someone is, I don't know, apocalypse scenario, and this person is isolated. And then this person is like, oh, I really crave for a company, I really crave for someone, connection. And then you go tell them like, oh, but you should be okay by yourself. You should be happy by yourself. Like, how come? Like, you have to acknowledge the human need for connection, for closeness. And if it is really that easy, to just break, then we wouldn't really need to cuddle with a human being. We wouldn't really need hug, connection, conversation to, share things with human beings. But we are wired to be an interdependent species, not codependent. So codependent is when you cannot really live without a specific person, even if the relationship is already very toxic, very bad, abusive even, then this is a codependency, is that you cannot leave this particular person situation. But interdependence is when you actually acknowledge your need for connection, for having other people in your life. But then, of course, if there's some situation that is not healthy, you are still able to live, even if you acknowledge that it might break your heart, that you might feel sad. So I think that it is really important to have this difference and not be so caught up on, telling people that, oh, I'll crave for a connection, but you need to be by yourself, happy by yourself. But there is always a reason why people crave for connections. And you might say that, but sometimes people might come from too much scarcity. And yeah, it can happen. Like if someone, for example, is hungry for 3 days, like of course they might be really hungry and that they might want to eat. But that doesn't mean that they would just eat any junk food, for example. But it still doesn't erase the fact that they might desire a lot for a relationship. For example, there were times in my life that I really craved for a relationship after a breakup. But then it doesn't mean that I'll just accept anyone or anything. There were times that an opportunity for something like a one night stand or something really casual appeared. And it didn't mean that I chose those things. In fact, I actually ran away from those things at times. Well, it is another story that maybe I'll share another time. It was actually fun. But you see, like a person can still crave for something deeply, still yearn for having human connections, relationships. And there's this weird difference. Like if a person says that, oh, there's something in me that really craves for having a higher purpose, that I don't want to stay in a day job that doesn't not fulfill me anymore. I really crave for it. And then people will pat their backs and yeah, it's good that you want to find a higher purpose, that you want to find another career. But when it comes to desiring romantic relationships in particular, then people say, but you have to be happy with yourself. If you're not happy with yourself, then how can you, be happy in a relationship? But sometimes it is not really about that. Because of course, like if after you get into a relationship, you're still too caught up on the person. Even if the relationship is stable and there's no real reason for that, then of course you might want to look at your insecurities of why you need really this much. But if you're really just craving for a relationship when you're not in a relationship and you still have the capacity to discern who would be a good partner and who might not be a good or healthy partnership, then I don't really personally think that it's something really bad. And, there were times that I really I really miss intimacy because it's not the same, like between cuddling with a pillow and cuddling with a real human being. All those experiences that you get to experience when you are in relationship and all those things that get to come up and get to heal and get to, really experience. It's very different. And to me, life wouldn't feel complete if I don't get to experience a really deeper partnership, a really stable partnership. Just as if I don't get to fulfill my higher purpose, if I don't get to express myself creatively and freely, if I don't get to be myself authentically, if I don't get to also have a career that fulfills me, that I feel that I'm really at the service to bring something, like I'm a channel of blessings to someone else, for example, through this video, hopefully, then I don't feel fulfilled, and I want it all, I don't want to, I should be happy with just this and or that and etc. I want it all, okay? So it's very important for us to be capable of acknowledging if we really want something deep down and not really gaslighting ourselves. Because what happens sometimes when we gaslight ourselves, saying that, oh, I'm an independent woman, I don't need no man, and etc. Now you're attracting men who are kind of in or out of the relationship because they're mirroring you. You're not fully in the relationship. So you manifest someone, but you are like, oh, but I don't really need this person. I would be completely fine. Like, I don't need them for anything. Then what happens? This man is also a match, a complementary match to it. So that this man will be kind of in and out, like, oh, I don't really need this relationship. I don't really need her. Could be fine without her. You see, you cannot manifest someone who is 100% in if you're not 100% in. And I'm telling this in a kind of my own experience. Like, I have manifested situationships, but not from lack of feelings, actually, which was kind of weird, but actually in a complementary way that the other person was also starting to feel scared of the deeper commitment, of the deeper intimacy. And I realized that I was actually scared of a deeper commitment, deeper intimacy, especially after divorce, because I realized that while I craved deeply for connection and I was really hungry back then for a real deeper, genuine connection, I was actually afraid to build a life again with someone else because of, it would be a lot at stake again, right? I went through a divorce after all, after trying to build my life with someone else. And I realized that it was then my traumas, my insecurities that are surfacing, that although I loved the other person, they were blocking me. And then the same happened on the other side, that the other person also loved me, but then their traumas, their insecurities, their fears also started to block. And then we were into this weird situationship that we were no longer boyfriend, girlfriend, but did we broke up, or are we still like friends? But are we more than just friends? And you see, because how we are having conversations on the phone, we are still having this bond and like communication, intimacy, emotionally, and etc. So you see, like, if you are gaslighting yourself and you are not really owning your true, real needs and desires for human connection, now you're resonating with someone who are kind of like that as well. And then there is this situationships and all. So if you are not really feeling it, then that's fine, because there are people with different unique paths and phases of life where they simply just, I'm in this single era that I'm really comfortable, that I'm really loving it, then fine. You should really enjoy it. But if you are not really on this phase and you are just trying to emulate the people, like just copying the people who are actually happy, you are actually not being true to yourself, and that will attract you relations in which no one is actually true to themselves and to the feelings, okay? So my name is Monica, and I hope that this content really helped you to at least maybe look at how you're feeling about relationships, about independence and interdependence, etc., etc.